Good evening, this is Llyane Stanfield, and I'm making a video because it's easier to answer Carol's question. I hope this is okay with the group. Never done this before in another group but my group, so I hope that is okay. It's just that the answer would be so long, and I really believe that this is going to benefit a lot of people. So instead of sending Carol an email, I hope again that is okay with the group that I answer via this video. So Carol says that her challenges are listening and hearing the individual words. And so this is one of the things that come up the most often with my clients and the people that I talk to. And this is the reason I really wanted to make a video that is open, so that everybody can listen and get a few tips about how to approach French. So when it's a second language, we always feel that the words are like mushed together in like one long word. And so what happens when we are listening and actually hear word for word, what actually happens, our ear has to be trained, and it's always going to seem like that until you get more familiar with the language and your ear gets trained. And your ear gets trained when you make conversation, and so you can't get to conversation until you know the words, and it's a catch-22, and I understand that. So in order for you to get out of this catch-22, what I suggest is that whenever you do anything French, and Duolingo is a brilliant tool, it doesn't make you speak, but it's a really good tool because it actually gets you motivated to do it every day if you start having like a strike. So if you go with Duolingo or whatever tool that you want to work with, whenever you read something in French, when you listen to something in French, when you watch something, when you write, every time that you do any of these, speak out loud. Speak out loud as much as you can, right? Because when you're watching a movie, for instance, it's a little hard. But if you kind of try, choose something that is a little slower first, right? Or say the words every so often, not all the time, because you can't really speak at the same speed. You don't know what they're saying. A movie, if you're watching movie with subtitles, and then try to speak along the movie. And anything else that it's with writing and listening, that's really great. So try to do everything that you do French, do it, speak up, speak along with everything that you do French. Write, if you write, talk, and if you read aloud, and if you watch something, try to speak along with that. What that does, it actually trains your ear to hear, and we are hearing better the outside than the inside. So our brain somehow catches in a different way what someone else tells us than what we're saying to us in our brain. So what happens is when we're speaking out loud, then we are hearing ourselves as if it was someone else, and we can hear ourselves better. Rather than when we're in a conversation, as Carol was saying here, when you're in a conversation, you're thinking first, and then when you say what you have been thinking, but it's not practiced. So the way to practice your own thinking in French, really, is to speak out loud as you do all these activities. Really good. The second problem that she has challenge is tenses. Very, very common. So what she wrote to me here is something that I'm hearing day in and day out from people who are coming to me to learn French. So the tenses are harder to get when you have to mix them up. But the easiest way to learn them is to first to prioritize and to have a little strategy. So first, stay with present tense, and stay with present tense until you're able to make conversation in the present tense. Then introduce your past, and the past can only be past tense, and because that's the only one that you can actually use in conversation easily. I mean, the first past tense is passé composé. That's what I meant to say, passé composé. And then the future. And the future, the first future to use is futur proche, which means it's not the futur simple, it's futur proche, which is the one that translates directly from English, I am going to eat, I'm going to sleep, right? Je vais manger, je vais dormir, je vais parler, right? So those of you who are already a little familiar with this, it's going to help. So use first futur proche, this I'm going to, rather than futur simple, because it's easier to translate from English, and it's easier to conjugate, right? Because you're saying that you have problems with the tenses. So it's difficult to conjugate futur proche, futur simple. It's difficult to conjugate, much more difficult than futur futur. Sorry, again, it's late here. So futur simple is harder than futur proche. Futur proche, I am going to eat. And if you need any more details about this, please ask me in the comments in the post, in Carol's post, or on this one on the video, because you're gonna have comments under the video. So you can put comments under the video. So if you don't know what's the difference between futur simple and futur proche, ask me, and I'm gonna write in the comments. So this is your first. This is your first cluster of tenses. Present, get comfortable with it. Then past, because why past? After present goes only past, because all the stories that we're telling about ourselves, most of what has happened is in the past. So you need a past tense in order for you to tell your story. And then what you want to do, what you're going to do, that's the third step, right? And that's when you're going to learn futur proche. And then, as you want to go to more tenses, Carol, the only way to do it is in conversation. Or if you want to make any exercises, so if you want to create exercises for yourself, don't create exercise, because I see a lot of people making this, they're doing exercises, and as they get comfortable with exercises, meaning picking words, just words, so that the tenses are there, but they don't really mean anything to them, and so you're going to forget them right away. So what you want to do is you want to use sentences that mean something to you, and I cannot stress this enough. It's so important, because the moment you're talking about real stuff that is real to you and only you, then only you will have a picture, a mental picture about, the story, and then you're gonna associate the tenses with the story. It's gonna be so much easier. So create stories. I mean, what has happened to you. Write on a piece of paper what you did on a vacation, what you want to do in your next job, if you want to do, because you want to do with you want to teach, right? So say that. And so using tenses, then all these three first, and then going to imparfait is going to be the next one, because the stories have to include imparfait and passé composé, right? So have a strategy, but when you practice, when you create these examples to practice with them, always make sentences that make sense to you, that are a reality of your life, okay? Don't make like out of the blue words just to mix and match some words together, because this is why we forget. And then where various adjectives go, that is, I know it's a little tricky, but what you also it's the same it's the same suggestion. So write sentences that matter to you, that you know that you will need, for instance, when you're going to teach again. So all these situations that are real, then you get connectivities or associations between, oh, I was talking about that school and I was talking about that kid, whatever they did. And so with the tenses used in that particular story that is your life, then the associations that you create with the language then makes it so that you don't forget. Because with adjectives, there are rules and exceptions of the exceptions, and so on. And so to make it like a rule of thumb, research it. And I have a resource for you, and I'm going to write it. Hopefully I'm not going to forget. Please let me know. I don't want to forget. It's a very good resource. It's called Langee.fr, Langee.fr. And that is a contextual search engine, meaning you put the expression in between double quotes from English, and you see the contexts where that and what would be in French, and what exact contexts you're gonna be you should use that expression in. And so that would be your research. But then again, don't take what you learn and stop there, or the examples or the research. Don't stop there. Take that and put it in a sentence that actually it would be a story, or it'd be something that you talk about yourself or what you do to someone. Let's say you meet someone new, a new people, right? And you want to talk about your experience, your dreams, your past vacations, your passions, all these things, right? So those are the things, those are the sentences that I want you to use these examples in, so that then, like I said, you associate the story to the language, and then you're not going to forget that easily. Then he said the memorization of words, that too, only with context. Only with context. So imagine a situation, a conversation that you'd have with someone, and you'll tell them about yourself, and whatever it is that you'll tell them about yourself, then use those words and those verbs that are necessary there, because that story about yourself you're going to tell the most often, right? Because when you meet different people, you are the same person. You're the thing that they have in common. And when you're going to talk about them, you are going to say your story, which doesn't quite change as much, right? So that is how you memorize anything. So I'm not a fan of dry memorization. I don't know. Kids do that because we force them to, but I don't believe that this is something that organically would get us adults into a place of is not productive, right? So time versus effectiveness, it does just not work for us. We are too busy to spend too much time on this. And so do it directly applied. So whenever you create like an example to practice some verb or nouns, or yeah, that's what you're saying, nouns and verbs. So whenever you want to memorize something, look at the words that you need, but put them in contexts that are about your life, so that you know that that sentence, that exercise that you wrote, you can take it and go with it in a conversation somewhere, and you won't have to really think about it, because it's yours and it's a reality and it's easy to talk about, and you will memorize easier in this way, I'm telling you. Okay, female or male? Everybody has this trouble. So you are, you're saying that you have hard time to learn a language, but I'm saying, what I'm trying to tell you is that your challenges are everybody's challenges in French. So female or male? With this is like that. So English doesn't have genders. We do, but for people, right, and animals and such. But in French, everything has genders. The table is a girl, the book is a boy, right? So how do we learn these words? And it's very hard when we're not used to having that. But you having had this passion for French, you already have a fascination and hence an ease of absorbing it because you're interested in this stuff, right? So in French, consider that French words have two parts. One is the gender, which could be le, la, or un, une, right? And the second one is the main word. Now, don't consider that when you say table, you know that is table, because I don't know all the words in French, right? You, I'm sure, don't. And so you never know if a word is a feminine or a masculine and if what they mean, right? So for instance, livre, le livre is the book and la livre is the pound. So if you ask me what does it mean, livre, I'm gonna ask you, well, give me the context. I have no idea, because it could be book, it could be pound. So for that reason, just consider from start that French is a weird language and has, and all Latin languages and other languages. German has three genders, Latin has three genders, Romanian has three genders, so we're lucky with French, right? So think about the words having two parts, always. When you're writing a word in your vocabulary, and I suggest that you have a book, a notebook, vocabulary, never ever write champignon, which means mushroom. I don't know if you know, probably you do, but not everybody may. So write le champignon, okay? And so, or un, or une, right? So always and always write le livre equals the book. It's probably better to say un or une, because if the word starts with a vowel, then you'll have L apostrophe, and that doesn't say anything about the gender. So un livre equals a book. Now in English you'll see a, right? A book, a pound, a table, a ballerina, and it may feel to you logically that is redundant, but it's not, because our brain works with patterns. So when the brain sees un livre, a book, it matches, just like a computer. A goes to un and book goes to livre. A goes to une and pound goes to livre. And so always having those two and two, like two parts and two parts, French and English, then your brain is going to get used to it, and it will not accept any word without gender again. You see how we're working here? So we're not working as in like, well, maybe I remember these ones and I don't remember the other ones. No. We are, it's a mindset shift, right? We have words have two parts in both languages. And so when you start then to match them and do that for 2 months every day, and I'm telling you right now that you will look for the genders, and with memorization of the gender, again, any memorization goes with context, with stories that you care about, okay? So, but getting your brain used to these two-part words, it's a matter of practice for, I know, they say that you build a new habit in 60 days. So do that, okay? And tell me how it works. And then, yeah, so you're saying that, oh, you don't know about how about selling it. So I can only assume, so correct me if I'm wrong, Carol, you wanted to try again, but you don't know how about to selling it. So about what do you mean by selling it? And so I can only assume that you don't know how to apply for a job with French, or how to make it happen for the station, a radio station. Let me know what that is, and if I can help you, I'll definitely do something about it. So I hope again that I didn't infringe on the rules of the group. I really wanted to make a video because every single challenge that Carol mentioned is almost word for word something that I hear from 95% of the people who are coming in to learn from with me French. So you're not an exception, Carol. You're not an exception, Carol. You definitely are going on the right path. It's just they are just the challenges that are coming naturally at the level that you're at right now. And it's just, like I said, a matter of strategizing a little bit and changing a few mind shifts, making some mind shifts. And it's going to be much easier for you to both learn as well as apply it as converse. So thank you so much, the group, for allowing me to have this video. But I hope that everybody who is interested in learning French would have something to learn from this and would be helpful. Let me know. And I really, really appreciate your time and the fact that you allowed me to do this video here. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Au revoir.